Hello, I am Ruby Falconer. Today's date is November 16th, 2020, and this is an astrological update from the perspective of Shamanic Egyptian Astrology. I want to acknowledge that we have had a very intense weekend. We had a lot of things happening toward the end of last week. We had on Thursday the 12th an exact conjunction between Jupiter and Pluto. That's Horus and Osiris. These are two of the three planets that are part of the Great Shift alignment, the third one being Saturn, Sobek, the old king. So Jupiter and Pluto came into exact conjunction on that day. On the next day, on the 13th, Friday the 13th, we had Mars change direction. And Mars had been turned retrograde on September 9th. So it's been retrograde for 2 months. And that's definitely had an impact on us. For a time, it was retrograding back through a square to the Great Shift planets. And although it's past that point now, it's still in relationship with them in sort of indirect sort of way. And then we also had over the weekend a Scorpio new moon, and that took place the night of September 14th, 15th, depending on where you lived. So that's a lot of intense energy. And so I just want to acknowledge that we've come off a very intense time. And if you think back to where things were a week ago, we did not know who the winner of the election was yet. It was definitely looking like it was going to be Biden, but nothing was sure. Nothing is still sure, but we're inching towards some certainty at this point. And in the same way, we're inching toward the completion of the Great Shift alignment, which does complete at the solstice in December. So we're definitely coming to that point where things are being kind of wrapped up in a way. This has been a disassembly process, and so things are starting to flip down, reassemble in a new way. And the process is not over yet. It's not complete. So it's really important to remember that. And that is being brought home to us by this week. We have a square from Venus. Venus is now in Libra. Venus is the principle of values. It's the receptive aspect of our personality. Isis in the Egyptian pantheon. Venus is moving through a square to the Great Shift planets. And yesterday, on the 15th, Venus moved through a square to Jupiter and also Pluto. And is going to, actually it was Pluto first and then Jupiter, and Venus will complete its transit of the Great Shift planets on Thursday the 19th with the square to Saturn. So this week is going to have some of that challenge. Every time one of the inner planets, particularly the Sun, Mercury, and Venus and Mars, have moved into one of the cardinal signs, and the cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. They have come into relationship with the Great Shift planets, and this is when things have been activated around the dismantling process that these three planets represent. So that energy is still here. It's going to be with us this week. It's ongoing, and it doesn't complete itself until the end of this year. So we've got some weeks to go still until this process is done and we move into the next phase. So that energy is still very much here. We do have tomorrow on the 17th, the planet Mercury, which is now in Scorpio. That's Thoth in Scorpio, which is Bast, moves through its second opposition to Uranus. And the first opposition of Mercury to Uranus took place on October 7th. Mercury did turn retrograde, but when it turned retrograde on the 13th, it was close to an opposition to Uranus. It kind of moved forward, then it moved back. So we had a period of time there where Mercury was hanging around that opposition to Uranus. And that process is completing itself tomorrow on the 17th. And in order to understand what this might have meant in your own life, think back to October 7th, that period of time from October 7th through the 15th. Mercury is our conscious mind. It's how we think, how we articulate ideas, how we remember. Scorpio is the water sign that's very passionate, very intense. It's very much attuned to the energy that operates under the surface. So it's about secrets and lies and things coming from the collective and personal unconscious into consciousness. And then with the opposition to Uranus, it has meant, and opposition is always about external forces coming in and affecting us in some way. There were unexpected things happening, unexpected realizations, unpredictable communications. Some of those communications would have been difficult. So just see if you can trace some of that for yourself, because whatever was revealed to you, whatever information you receive from this, it's in some way coming to completion tomorrow, with Mercury moving through its what would be its third opposition to Uranus. Uranus is the Great Awakener. In the Egyptian pantheon, Uranus is Wadjet, the Cobra Queen. She's the Kundalini life force. You know, if you know the Tarot, she's like the Tower card in the Tarot. So certainly intense energy. She's also known as the Great Awakener or the Shatterer. So that energy is coming tomorrow. We do have a shift later on in the week. On Saturday the 21st, we're going to have the Sun moving into Sagittarius, and Venus will move into Scorpio. So we'll still have some Scorpio energy around with Venus in Scorpio, but the Sun's going to move into Sagittarius. It's a fire sign, and that will bring some different kind of energy. So those are the things that are going on during this week. And I do want to kind of give everyone a heads up. We'll talk more about this next week, but we're going to start to feel the effects of it, particularly toward the end of this week. Neptune is going to be changing direction a week from Saturday. That's on November 28th. And so Neptune will start slowing to station. And we will start to feel that toward the end of this week. And I'll talk more about that next week. But Neptune in traditional astrology is spirituality, cosmic consciousness, imagination, illumination, intuition. It's also confusion, illusion, delusion. And so we can certainly, you know, we can have amazing spiritual experiences with Neptune. Neptune's in its own sign, Pisces. And there also can be the feeling of having the rug being pulled out from under us. You know, we're standing on quicksand. And sometimes those things happen simultaneously. You know, so that energy is going to start to get quite strong in our personal and collective lives as well as we move toward the Thanksgiving holiday in the United States, which this year is November 26th. So I want to come back to this week and where we are right now. And what I want to offer as a journey for this week is a journey with Set, the Warrior King. And I've talked about Set quite a bit in these little videos that I've been doing for this year. But I want to reiterate some things that I've said before. And really, I think this is a very appropriate time for each of us to touch in with our internal warrior. You know, Set is such a complicated archetype. You know, he is Mars. Mars in Greek and Roman myth, he doesn't show up unless there's a battle. You know, that's what he shows up for. He's a death dealer. He shows up to kind of join the fray. He sort of lives on bloodlust and death and destruction and all of the things that can come with war. His Greek name was Ares, and his Roman name is Mars. In the Egyptian pantheon, he is Set. And the primary story that's told about Set revolves around his murder of his brother Osiris. And he murders Osiris 2 times. The first time he puts him in a kind of a coffin on the edge of the Nile, and that doesn't work. So the second time he kills him and chops his body up. He comes back to life. The second time he chops his body up and distributes it along the banks of the Nile. And Isis and her sister Nephthys collects those body parts so that they can remember Osiris. So, you know, Set in this story is not a pleasant character. You know, we're not given any reason why he decides to kill his brother. It's as if he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed and he just decides to go out and kill him. And that is, of course, part of the fear that many of us have about the warrior. This sort of the warrior run amok. And so, in instances where, patriarchal energy or is used in a domineering, cruel, unkind way, it's kind of that fear of Set that starts to arise within us, that we do not know what this being is going to do. He's not trustworthy. He might get up on the wrong side of the bed and do something truly horrible. And so the energy is there. One of the reasons why so many of us push our own anger away, our own warlike nature away, is that we're afraid we can't control it. It's unpredictable and uncontrollable. There is another story about Set that is not told as often, but is equally as important. And in that story, Set accompanies Ra every night as he makes his journey through the underworld. The Egyptians believe that Ra, the sun god, got on a chariot and crossed over the sky, the heavens, in the morning, and then at dusk he got off of his chariot, got onto a bark, which is a type of boat, and he goes through the underworld. And in the underworld there is a 9-headed monster, Apophis, who wants to kill Ra and gobble him up. And so Set goes with Ra every night as a companion and also as a protector. It is Set who kills the monster, who slays the monster so that he cannot gobble up the sun. And he uses every inch of his warrior strength, his ability to attack, his aggression. He's not a peaceful warrior. He's going to raise that sword and he's going to chop off those heads, because if he doesn't do it, the monster will gobble up the sun and the earth will die. And Set does this because this is his sacred duty and because he loves the earth. And there is a message here that helps us to understand how to use our internal warrior. Our warrior needs to be connected to our love. It needs to be connected to that which we love. To pretend that we're not going to use that ability to cut something, to end something, to destroy something, means that we're not going to be able to step into our full selves, because there are times in our lives when we have to use that energy. We have to say, no, you may not speak to me this way. You may not do this. You may not cross this line. And so we have to set a boundary, and we need our warrior to be able to do that. If we're the sort of person who's uncomfortable with making other people angry or pissing people off or saying no, or we always want to keep things nice, whatever it might be, then we find it difficult to do that. And what that means is that we are defenseless in the world. And so we need our warrior. And what has happened with Mars, Set, being retrograde, he's in his own sign, he's in Aries. It's not a very happy place for Mars. He's been feeling a great deal of frustration. It's like he's spinning his wheels and not getting anywhere, just digging a rut, basically. And so there's been a lot of, if you think back to September 9th and everything that has happened in our world, and if you really want to understand how this is working for yourself, think about what's been going on in your life since September 9th. It's been a difficult time in a lot of ways. It's hard to manifest the things that we want, to manifest forward action. That's the territory of Mars as well. Creativity, manifestation, making things happen. Not only setting a boundary and saying no, but saying, yes, I want that. In the relationship between Venus and Mars in our personalities, in our natal charts, Venus represents what we value, what we want to have happen. And Mars is the quality of energy that we send out to make it happen, to manifest it. These two are meant to act as a team. And in fact, our values, which is Venus, that's Isis, is meant to direct our actions. And if you think of that myth of Set, where he accompanies Ra on that bark through the underworld, his values are directing his actions. He values the earth. He values Ra, who at this point is a moon. He values life, and he's acting to protect life. And yes, he's using every single bit of his warrior strength, determination. He is killing. He cuts off all 9 heads of the monster. But he does that. He is directed by love. And, I know that the folks who have been in the military know the code of the warrior. The code of the warrior is, yes, you follow orders, you behave in integrity, you look out for your fellow warriors, all of those things. And part of it is that this needs to be a soul path, and it needs to come from an inner directive to be in harmony with that which you most value. So the best soldiers are the ones who are really acting from love. They love their country, they love their home, they love their family, they love certain values that they feel that they're fighting for, that have meaning and significance. And so they are taking actions, some of which are destructive, coming from a place of love, and that their actions have to be directed by that. Those warriors, none of us are afraid of. We honor them and protect them, and we thank them for their service. It's the warrior run amok. It's the unpredictable warrior who lashes out in a vicious, unpredictable way, who gets up on the wrong side of the bed and someone dies, either literally or metaphorically. That is the warrior that we're afraid of. So we're going to go on a journey with Set, because what's going to be happening over the last phase of this great shift alignment is we are going to have Mars now direct, and Mars is going to start speeding up. It's still, for all intents and purposes, stationary. Things are going to start happening. Things are going to start moving. And, being Mars in Aries, people are going to use this energy in different ways. And, we still have a great deal that's going to have to be sorted out. We're still an extremely divided country. And even though it does appear that we will have a new president come January, nothing's for certain in this time frame, because we are entering into a period where the energies of the Great Shift Alignment is still very much in play, and Mars is going to be on the move. So he's going to start doing things. He's going to start making things happen. He's going to start fighting a war, and attempting to get his way one way or another. So the way, there's very little that we as individuals can do about what's going on in the collective. But we can work with our own internal warrior, because part of this, what this year has been about, with the dismantling of society as we've known it, is that we are all going to have now an opportunity to start using our own warrior energy and direct it in new ways. And so we need our loyal protector. We need our warrior, so that we know that we have the strength and the courage to do whatever is ours to do. And I want to acknowledge that, over this last week, we've had a huge upsurge, an unprecedented upsurge in the number of coronavirus cases that we're having throughout this country and around the world. But, I'm an American, so I'm focusing now on what's going on here. And, this is very frightening and very problematic, and, it continues to make things uncertain. I do think that, as we move out of this energy, we're going to find some resolution around, what's going on with the coronavirus. So it is going to start getting better. But right now, as in a sense, Mars is awakening. He's coming out of his slumber. He's, finding his footing again, and, beginning to move out into the world again. I don't know that we're going to have a solution in the near future. So we've got a period of time here where things are going to be not perhaps as intense in such a concentrated way as they've been during this time when Mars is retrograde, because things are going to start happening more quickly. So, and I want to acknowledge that it is the coronavirus that has been the overriding theme for the dismantling of the structure of society. We've had a lot of other things going on, including the Black Lives Movement, civil unrest, dealing with systemic racism, and also the election, and also the things that have come to us from the present administration, which for many people have been quite triggering, of the warrior run amok. We've had all of that stuff going on. And what I can say is, while there's no immediate resolution, we are definitely on, we're moving toward resolution. But it's important to keep paying attention and keep taking care of ourselves on an individual level. So the journey that I want to offer today is with Set, the Warrior King. And we have journeyed with him before. Specifically, what we're going to ask him to do today is show each of us, give each of you an opportunity to get in touch with that aspect of yourself that is really attuned to your sense of soul purpose. That part of you that knows what your values is, knows what you love, and help to align your internal warrior with that sense of soul purpose and that sense of integrity, where each of us can act from that place of alignment with our greatest sense of self and our greatest expression of our soul purpose. So I invite everyone to get comfortable. Take a couple of nice deep breaths. If you are sitting up, put both feet flat on the floor. And if you are lying down, feel what it is that supports your body. And whatever position you're in, drop a grounding cord. Drop it down from your body into the earth. And feel that cord burrowing down, 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 down to the very center of the earth, down to the core, that molten core that is in the center of the earth, and hook your cord in that. And take some nice deep breaths. Feel the vibration of energy that comes up that cord. Let go of distractions. And I invite you now to imagine that you are standing in a desert. And it's a sand dune type of desert. White sands stretch out all around you, off into the distance. And you feel the sun on your skin. It's hot, not uncomfortably so, but you definitely feel the heat of the sun. And you feel a warm, almost hot breeze brushing against your skin. That breeze is shifting the sand, little ripples that you can see ahead of you. And as you look ahead, you see a trail of footsteps, footprints moving toward you in the sand. And it's a curious thing to see footprints moving toward you. And as you look at them, you begin to see almost like a mirage coming into clarity. You see a being, a man, coming toward you. And as he comes closer, you understand that this is the warrior Set. He may come to you in the guise of an ordinary man, perhaps dressed as a warrior. In Egyptian lore, he was often portrayed as a person with a human body and the head of a creature that most resembles an anteater. He always carries a staff. He may come in a variety of different ways to you. But just know that this is Sat, and he is coming closer to you. And he holds himself ramrod straight. He has a warrior's build and a warrior's bearing. He is a king. And he has the bearing of a warrior king. And he has now reached you, and he stands in front of you and looks into your eyes. And he is asking you if you are ready to receive a lesson from him, a training from him. A training around how to hold your warrior energy in integrity as you move forward. And he asks you if it is your desire to manifest your soul's purpose. I want you to check in with that. Touch in deep within yourself. You don't need to know what your soul purpose is. But just touch in and see if this resonates, if this is something you know you want to do. And if it is, nod your head to Sat. Let him know, yes, I want to receive your gift. Sat stands beside you now. And you join him in looking ahead, looking over these sand dunes far into the distance. He raises his staff and he points. And I invite you to focus your attention on the point in the distance that Sat is pointing his staff at. And take a nice deep breath. And over the next couple of minutes, 3 minutes or so, I invite you to go on a journey with Sat and to receive from him a transmission as to how to manifest your warrior nature in integrity, in strength, in power, and how to have that energy be directed by that which you most love. Nice deep breath. Go on a journey with Sat. Set has a gift for you. A symbol, a word, a message, a color, a memory, an image. Something to help anchor your determination, anchor your resolution, anchor your ability to manifest that which you most value and love. Receive your gift from Set. You become aware now that you have been joined by Isis, Queen Mother of Heaven. She who is with us through every process of transformation and change. In traditional astrology, Isis is allied with Venus, our values, that which we love. Venus and Mars are a team within us. It is this energy, the receptive side of us, that decides what we love. And it is the active side of us, the warrior side, that manifests it. So Isis wraps her rainbow wings around you, pulling you close to her, and she pulls also your gift to you, anchoring it in your body, in your energy field, so that it will become part of you. And so you will remember in the days and weeks ahead who you are and where you are going. And most of all, what is yours to do. Lie back in the arms of Isis and receive. Take a nice deep breath. Come slowly back into the room. Thank you. We will talk again.